Welcome to the teacher feature of the Nancy Peters Show on Southbridge Street Live. Each week, I'm interviewing a teacher from the Crossroads area. Join me on Tuesday mornings to learn more about our dedicated educators. Welcome to the teacher feature of the Nancy Peters Show on Southbridge Street Live. Thanks for joining us. We are sponsored by the Box Coffee Bar, and they've got two locations. They're on Airline at Laurent and also on Main Street. So be sure and stop in and let them know that you have seen their advertisement here on the teacher feature. Today, I want to welcome Mrs. Sharon Bednorz, and she has quite an experience here in teaching, so we're going to get right into it because we want you to know what all is going on in our area schools, in our classrooms, and with our teachers. So, Mrs. Bednorz, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
And let's maybe just get started with where you have taught.
Okay, all of my experience is here in VISD. I arrived in Victoria in 1979 and started my first years at Stroman High School. I stayed at Stroman until the year of consolidation, at which time I moved over to Memorial High School. And then when the schools broke apart, I went over to East High School, and I was there until retirement. And I currently am at Crain because I am there as a mentor math teacher, and I go in every day for 3 hours a day to work with 4th and 5th grade students.
All right. So you have really a wide range of experience of age groups.
Yes, and most of my experience is 9th and 10th graders, but I've taught everything at the high school except pre-cal and calculus. And then now I'm down here learning what the little ones learn and how they learn it.
Cool. Well, when did you know you wanted to be a teacher?
That happened in high school. It happened in a math classroom. I was challenged by a math teacher. He was, I don't know, he just caught my attention into mathematics. He was out of the ordinary. Most people would not think of him as a person that would catch somebody's attention, but he did. I found at that time that I would be a teacher and math is what I would do.
All right. Well, what are some of the rewards of teaching?
The rewards of teaching are the benefits that you feel when you see a child's face lighten up for they finally understand something. Yeah. Or I have spent a lot of time tutoring so that the children could pull up and pass a grade or pass a STAR test or an end of course test. And it feels really great when the scores come back and someone that hasn't been successful for 3 or 4 tries finally makes it. That's the best reward.
That would be. Well, what are some of the challenges of teaching?
Oh, the challenges of teaching, motivating children. Today's children are so into the electronics, the video games, the YouTube, and it's so fast-paced. A teacher cannot keep that up in the classroom. You have to try your best, but that is a challenge. Another challenge for teachers is that the times aren't the same. Back when education started, we had reading, writing, and arithmetic. And as time progressed, subjects came in. History was joined. Then they bring in the science. Then they bring in sciences. And then as we keep going, they bring in parent values. They bring in bullying. They bring in peer remediation, speech, family living, how to take care of children. It has grown to such an extreme, there's not enough time in the day to do everything that they ask you to do. And you need to still concentrate on those basics.
And prepare for the STAR test.
Well, if you prepare the basics right, the STAR test will be successful. But there's so much, I know we spend a lot of time saying we're preparing for the STAR test, but if you actually sit down and read the questions, they're things that students should know. There's a lot of basic math at the foundation level. As you move up to the higher classes, if you were actually learning Algebra 1, then you would know what was on the STAR test. It's part of the curriculum. It's just that you have to present it the way it would be presented on the test. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh yeah. For me, it makes sense. And if it's not presented that way to them in the classroom, they may not get it the way it's presented on the STAR test.
Correct. That's the big problem. Making sure that you use the same verbs, the same adjectives, that the question is written the way it would be seen on a test. When I first started teaching, who ever heard of a multiple choice math test? It was paper, pencil, you sat down, you showed your steps, and you came up with the answer. Now everything's multiple choice. It's like, wow, there's 4 answers to this question, which one might be the best? Mm-hmm. So it has changed so much. And as a teacher, I continually have to go back to classes. I have to learn what the new techniques are. I have to learn what's motivating children now. You just have to stay on top of it, or I guess that's what you call when you burn out.
Yeah, right. And because there are so many changes and you have to have everything kind of worded correctly for them, that can cause, I can see where it can cause a little bit of stress trying to get it all in.
Yes, and going back to the words, reading. You know, the children even read a math test nowadays and they go, this isn't reading class. And I'm like, I know, but if you can't read, you can't work these problems because they're situation problems. You know, you have to figure out, you've gone to the store and you're buying and selling and interest, you have to, you can't just, in the real world, it doesn't say add 14 to 59. So the problems are presented as a real world problem. So the children have to be able to read. And they need to be able to make connections between the words in the sentence. So that tells them what math they are supposed to do. So in the younger grades, parents should be reading. That really would help the teacher. The more the child sees in the books, sees the words, being read to, it's just going to help out all the way around, because listening to children and their inability to read at 10 and 11 is difficult for me. Because like I said, my career was in the higher grades. And now that I'm working with the little children, I'm like, wow. I myself are like, you better go home and read more to your kids. Because you've really got to get it there. And then the basics of mathematics, they don't know their facts. Well, I can remember the day when flashcards were drilled. Drill. That's not happening. Therefore, the kids are trying to use their fingers, use tapping points, all kinds of ways to get the answer instead of the rote memory that we had when we were growing up. I know that was a time ago, but it still helps. So parents, if you would help teachers by reading and help teachers by drilling the basic facts, even if they're flashcards. One of the things I have done with my grandson is I've taken the coins out of my purse and dropped them on the table and make him add it up. Because he struggles with those questions on the test. How much money is seen in this problem? And so, just drop your coins every evening and ask him, how much money is this, sweetie? What do I have?
That's a good one. I would put prices on different things from around the house, and I tell the boys, all right, it's like a garage sale. Go pick some things up, and then you have to add up. And I gave them real cash, coins and dollars, and you add up how much you're supposed to be paying, and I will give you change. But I want you to know, I'm going to cheat you on your change, and you need to pay attention and catch it.
Yes.
And they said, you would cheat us? I said, well, so you'll learn math. Yes, I would.
And that's very important. You take the kids shopping, or I see a lot of children in the stores, have them calculate, how much have I bought? We only have $20 today. Can we buy all of this? Just make anything an experience. Doesn't take any more time out of your day. You're at the store anyway.
Or even if you're going to get a pizza or 2 pizzas, okay, it's going to be this much. Or you add up, how much is it going to be? Okay, now, here's the money you're going to pay for this. How much change should you get to know beforehand? I know recently, if I hadn't been paying attention, I would have lost out on a $5 bill on getting change back at a place. So everybody's got to watch their money, and you need to know ahead of time because somebody may count it out wrong from the register.
Or if you want to make sure everybody gets the same amount of food, that pizza is an excellent way to work on your fractions. You only get 2/3 of this one, and you can have 1/6 of this one. Oh, is that fair? Are you getting as much pizza as over here? Or just come up with a problem over those pizzas if the pizzas are different sizes. Okay, you got 1 slice and you got 1 slice, but how come yours is more than mine?
Good.
Have it over the dinner table. It's just an example of how a parent can help. Maybe you don't think that's helping, but it is. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. And that's such a good way to do the fractions.
I have a teacher friend, I'm not going to use her name, but she's probably going to laugh if she sees this. There was a concept on percentages that she didn't understand. And finally I took the pizza and I explained it to her with the pizza and the different sizes of the pizza. She's like, I'll never forget this again.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So yeah, you don't even, she was probably in her 60s at the time she finally got it.
Yeah. Hey, we can always learn. The other thing too is I think having those manipulatives, the flashcards were great. Man, I really learned my multiplications and all, and it comes in handy every time I'm checking out because I want to know, you quick add up in our head what it is, my head. But those manipulatives are so good, like the pizza or the fractions or whatever, helps us just to understand it. My dad would take money and he said, okay, we're going to do percentages, 25%, 50%, here's a quarter, here's 50 cents, and this is what your percentages are, so you can see. That was a simple way when I was young that he explained it to me.
I use that concept still with those that are struggling. Said if I can turn it into money, they get it a lot faster.
That's right. Good thinking.
So,
okay, so we're really encouraging parents into the importance of reading and still the importance of the flashcards for the math, multiplication, adding, subtracting, division.
yes, the faster they memorize that, the better off they're going to be in the upper grades.
And the better we feel about ourselves as well. When we know those facts and we're not struggling to have them come up for us to be aware of. So, all right. Well, what advice would you give to someone who would like to become a teacher?
This has come up in my family recently. Several people are discouraging one member of the family not to teach after she's done 3 years of her education, fixing to do the last year. And so I sat down with her and I said, is it what you want to do? Are you going to love it? Why did you decide to be a teacher? Because you're not doing being a teacher for the money. You're not doing it for the hours. It's really not an 8 to 4 job. I mean, you go to, like I said, you go to classes, you do all this extra time, you grade papers, You try to be creative and make up things for the kids to do. So the reason you want to be a teacher is because you have a love for the kids. You want the children to be successful. You want children to learn. You want children of all cultures to have the same benefits as everyone else. You just have to be able to encourage kids. You have to have a smile on your face during the day time. You put everything else aside for those hours that the kids are in the classroom. They're your focus, they're your love. You might be the only person that day that said good morning. You might be the only person that day that said, good job, I like the way you did that. So if you want to be a teacher, can you love the kid? Can you give them your all? Because that's what it's all about.
And I had one person being interviewed said, always find something individual about each one that you can really like, that you can really encourage them about. But there's always something we can find in each person that's lovable.
Yes, there was, being in the classroom for like 40 years now, there's children that come in and you're just like, okay, how am I going to handle this? That's not what you need to do. You need to watch the child. Sometimes people that I thought were going to be my biggest problem are I'm so sorry when they leave. They've been the joy of my life for 9 months. Mm-hmm. And so no first impressions. Don't look at the cover of the book and make up your mind. Give every child a chance. Sometimes you have to break through the barrier. I've seen where someone will walk in the room and all the teachers will go, oh. But you don't. You say, hey, I'm glad you're here today. Let's do this, let's do that. One young man told me, oh, I'm bad. I'm like, no, you're not bad. You made some wrong choices, but you're not bad. So let's give it another try.
And that is really so important to say to them so that they can maybe get out of their thought process where they have an idea already what others are thinking of them. Mm-hmm. So important. Well, how important is it to have maybe parents or business people to come in and help mentor the students?
It helps the teacher. Just me being there, I'm able to take 4 or 5 children aside and they get all my attention, while the teacher takes care of the rest of them. And the ones that I'm pulling aside are the ones that were struggling. Sometimes it's just one child, and you sit there and you give them the one-on-one attention, and they begin to understand better. And so anyone else that comes into that classroom can take 1 or 2 children and drill them on some flashcards or read to them, or if they have a paragraph they have to interpret, you can sit there and do that. Just give a little bit of your time each week or whatever you can, because that gives a child, usually one that's not being successful, someone that's paying attention to just them. And just that attention is going to motivate them to do a little bit better, to try a little bit harder.
It's kind of a self-esteem builder also for that
yes.
child.
Well, because if they begin to get things right, I've had a few students that I've pulled and they've told me, I'm so glad you're here because I get to answer now. The other kids in class were always pulling away from them. They were the stars. They were shining for a minute because they were telling me the answers. They got a voice.
And that would make a difference, especially if others are answering questions really quickly and they need the extra few seconds to think about the answer.
Yeah, and you tell the children, no, don't say anything. But some of those kids are so excited they just pop out the answers, even though you train them. Don't do that, let's wait a minute.
Yeah.
So It has a lot of advantages, but all of it helps a child. And if you can help a child get a little bit better, then you're helping them all the way through life.
And that's really what it's all about, is helping to make a difference and showing them ways to learn and to feel good about themselves. Well, can you think of something maybe funny that's happened in the classroom?
Oh, well, I was thinking about this and I was like, funny in a math classroom? Well, one day I'm teaching to the kids, and at Stroman I was on the 3rd floor, so I had a good window view of the back baseball field. Well, the kids go, Miss Bednorz, Shamu's outside. I'm like, oh yeah, right, Shamu's outside. They go, turn and look. Sure enough, the big float, like Shamu, the big balloon, they were floating him around town because SeaWorld was opening. And that was their advertisement. And he came right by my window. So we were all had a little laugh about that Shamu came by to see our math class that day.
Oh, you guys were really special.
It lightens the mood for a minute and then you go back into it. But it did bring a laugh.
And that really is important in a classroom, to lighten the mood, to be able to laugh and then get back down to serious work.
Yeah.
Yes.
One time, I can't believe I did this. I wasn't thinking. A young man wanted me to hear his solo. I'm like, I'd love to hear your solo, but I can't get to the band hall. I'll bring my instrument to you. Well, I didn't think about that. And he came up and he started playing. Everyone on the floor heard the solo. I interrupted everybody's class. I had to go make quite a few apologies. I was like, oops, sorry, I wasn't thinking.
And that student felt like $1 million.
Yes, yes.
Well, you've really given us some good things to think about, and especially for parents. And I want to say, parents and maybe older brothers and sisters, whomever, the reading is so important. And start with them young parents so that your child really knows how to read well, loves to hear stories, because that's going to help them on testing and it's going to help them through life. And if you're not using flashcards, get back to using those flashcards. It makes a difference. Well, I want to thank you so much, Mrs. Bednorz, for being here. Really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And I want to encourage all of you to know that we are all where we're at in many ways because a teacher or many teachers have made a difference. So when you see a teacher, say thank you and have a great day.